Why fear works better than love. Machiavelli explained. Everyone wants to be loved. Loved by their boss. Loved by society. Loved by the system they belong to. From childhood, we are taught that love is the highest form of connection. That love builds trust. That love creates loyalty. That love brings harmony. We are told that if people like you, they will support you. If people love you, they will stand by you. It sounds comforting. It sounds moral. It sounds right. But power does not operate on comfort. Power operates on results. And 500 years ago, Niccolò Machiavelli made an observation that still disturbs people today. He asked a question most people are afraid to ask. What actually keeps people in line? Love, or fear? His answer was simple, direct, and deeply misunderstood. He said it is better to be feared than loved, if one cannot be both. This sentence alone has shaped how Machiavelli is remembered. Many call him cruel. Some call him immoral. Others call him dangerous. But very few understand what he was really saying. Machiavelli was not promoting cruelty. He was describing human nature. Love is emotional. Fear is structural. Love depends on feelings. Fear depends on consequences. And systems are built on consequences, not feelings. This is why fear works where love fails. Look at how authority functions in real life. Rules are not followed because people love the law. They are followed because consequences exist. Remove consequences, and obedience collapses. This is not pessimism. This is observation. Machiavelli understood that love is unstable. People love when it is easy. They love when it benefits them. They love when conditions are favorable. But when pressure appears, love becomes negotiable. Fear is different. Fear does not require emotional agreement. It requires awareness of limits. Fear creates predictability. And predictability is what power values most. This is why systems quietly rely on fear while publicly praising love. In the workplace, you are encouraged to be liked. Be friendly. Be agreeable. Be easy to work with. But the most liked person is rarely the most respected. Deadlines slip. Boundaries blur. Authority weakens. The strict manager, on the other hand, is often disliked. But instructions are followed. Limits are respected. Performance improves. People may complain, but they comply. Why? Because fear introduces consequences. Love introduces expectations. Machiavelli understood that authority based purely on love collapses under pressure. Because love asks, while fear enforces. This pattern repeats everywhere. In politics, leaders speak the language of unity, care, and love for the people. But real power is maintained through enforcement. Laws are not suggestions. They are boundaries. Cross them, and consequences follow. If power relied on love alone, it would not survive. History proves this repeatedly. Empires that ruled through admiration alone fell quickly. Those that maintained fear endured longer. Not because they were more evil, but because they were more realistic about human behavior. Machiavelli was honest about something most people avoid admitting. Human nature is inconsistent. People change sides when circumstances change. Love disappears when incentives disappear. Fear remains as long as consequences remain. This does not mean fear must be violent. Fear can be subtle. The fear of losing status. The fear of exclusion. The fear of consequences. Modern systems are very sophisticated at this. They rarely threaten openly. They imply. An implication is often more powerful than force. In relationships, the same dynamic exists. The person who tolerates everything eventually loses influence. The person who never enforces boundaries becomes predictable. Predictability invites disrespect. This is not because people are evil. It is because boundaries define value. Fear, in this context, does not mean terror. It means the awareness that crossing a line has a cost. Machiavelli understood that respect is born from clarity, not affection. People do not respect those who are endlessly forgiving. They respect those who are fair, but firm. Love without boundaries dissolves authority. Fear without restraint becomes tyranny. The balance matters. But when forced to choose, fear outperforms love. Because fear creates structure. Love creates hope. Hope is emotional. Structure is functional. Systems require function, not emotion. This is where the matrix illusion appears. We are taught that kindness leads to influence. That goodness naturally produces authority. That being loved is enough. But reality teaches a harsher lesson. Influence comes from leverage. Authority comes from limits. And limits are enforced through fear of consequences. This is why systems quietly discourage confrontation. Why questioning authority is labeled negative. Why obedience is rewarded socially. Fear keeps order. Love keeps appearance. Machiavelli was not advising people to become cruel. He was advising leaders to avoid weakness. Weakness invites challenge. Challenge destabilizes power. Power prioritizes survival over morality. This is why moral leaders often struggle. They attempt to rule through approval. Approval fluctuates. Fear stabilizes. This is uncomfortable to accept. Because it conflicts with how we want the world to work. But Machiavelli did not describe the world we want. He described the world that exists. And ignoring this truth does not make it disappear. It only makes you vulnerable to it. The most dangerous form of fear is not physical. It is psychological. The fear of losing belonging. The fear of standing alone. The fear of being labeled difficult. Modern systems rely heavily on this. They do not punish openly. They isolate quietly. This creates self-policing behavior. People regulate themselves. They conform without being forced. This is far more efficient than violence. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately. He understood that the best form of control is internalized. When people fear consequences without being reminded, power becomes effortless. This is why love is celebrated publicly. It distracts from the mechanisms of control. People focus on emotional narratives instead of structural realities. They confuse kindness with safety. They confuse approval with power. They confuse love with protection. And then they are surprised when protection disappears. Fear, when properly understood, is not evil. It is informative. It tells you where boundaries exist. It signals where power resides. Ignoring fear does not make you brave. It makes you blind. This is the real danger Machiavelli warned about. Not cruelty. Blindness. He knew that leaders who try to rule through love alone eventually lose control. And individuals who rely on love alone eventually lose leverage. This applies to workplaces, to relationships, to social structures, to life itself. Fear is effective because it aligns with reality. Reality has consequences. Love does not remove them. This does not mean you must live in fear. It means you must understand it. Understanding fear allows you to navigate power without being consumed by it. This is the escape. Not becoming aggressive. Not becoming dominant. But becoming aware. Awareness allows choice. Choice restores balance. Machiavelli would tell you this. Do not seek to be feared by everyone. Seek to be respected. And respect requires the possibility of consequences. Without that possibility, words lose weight. Boundaries dissolve. Power shifts away from you. This is why people who are too nice are often ignored. This is why systems that rely on approval collapse. This is why fear, when restrained and understood, outperforms love. Not because it is better, but because it is reliable. The Matrix teaches you to chase love. Reality teaches you to understand power. Escaping the Matrix does not mean rejecting love. It means refusing to rely on it for protection. It means knowing where affection ends and structure begins. Because once you understand this distinction, power loses its mystery. And mystery is what allows control to persist. This channel exists to remove that mystery. To explain the rules without emotion. To expose power without glorifying it. If you want to understand how the system actually works instead of how it is advertised, subscribe. Escape the Matrix.